Guess what, London? I'm drinking coffee. Hi, welcome back. Ooh, I gotta put this on silent. Welcome back. Good morning. So, I have a riddle because Narquise and Miss Williams guessed the one yesterday rather quickly for me. So I'm gonna say the riddle, and then you need to respond to the riddle in Google Stream. So here's the riddle. I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. I have no body, but come alive with wind. What am I? I'm going to read it again. I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. Hey, somebody's here. How you doing? I have no body, oh my God, but come alive with wind. What am I? So the first person to get that answer, you will get a shout out from me tomorrow. Make sure you put it in the Google Stream. Today's lesson is on how environment affects adaptive and non-adaptive traits. So the objective, students will be able to understand that biologists analyze data about environmental conditions, which are the cause, and explain changes in the distribution of traits in population, which will be the effects. So let's think about what an environmental condition is. So an environmental condition is, let's think back to the dinosaurs. The reason they went extinct, either the planet overheated or they were frozen to death, and that's what caused them to become extinct. They had more non-adaptive traits than adaptive traits. So when we were doing the simulation before we left out of school, we know that australopes with more fur were more likely to survive. Australopes with a longer neck were more likely to survive. So that would be the cause. So let's say tomorrow the temperature drops to negative 50 degrees. Many of us have shelter and we can have heat. That's still really, really cold. We'll still probably be cold with heat, but yet we have the potential to survive. We have the things we need. Some people will be left out in the cold. They will not be able to survive. There will be animals, birds that just automatically die off because their bodies have not been adapted. Let's take a polar bear, for example. That's something that they will be able to survive in. They're used to extremely cold, maybe not negative 50, maybe negative 30, but they're able to survive in extremely cold temperatures. So you have your environment, which is the cause, and then you have the non-adaptive or adaptive trait, which is the effect. So turn to talk with your families. What are some adaptive traits that we have for our environment? Excellent. So yes, adaptive traits are things, again, I keep using this example, but it's an example that we can easily lock in because most of us look alike, but we have melanin in our skin. This is because our ancestors in Africa had to endure harsh sun UV light, their skin being absorbed or absorbing sunlight. So that is an adaptive trait we have that made us capable to survive in very warm temperatures. This is why we're less likely to get skin cancer and sunburn, and Australian citizens are way more likely, as we've studied before. So for today, I'm gonna just read a little bit of this article. This is the worksheet that you'll have to complete tomorrow. You'll complete this worksheet and then you'll answer the questions on the top in the Google Doc again. The Amplified lesson tomorrow is very basic. You're just literally writing out answers. It's more of like a written seminar. Remember that day we wrote nonstop and y'all were mad and salty? It's one of those. Make sure you do that. Turn it in on a Google Doc. I'm going to read some of these because I know I have people like Ken. Thank you, Ken, for your excellent communication, who really need me to read these so they can actually contribute to the answers. So, Chapter 1, Wildlife in the Woods, Introduction. The forests of Oregon are full of organisms, animals and plants, big and small, furry and feathered and scaly. All of these organisms have traits that make them well suited to living in the environment in Oregon. To learn about some of the organisms of the Oregon forest, read one or more of the chapters that follow. So I'm going to read chapter 2, and then I'll leave you to read the other 3 chapters on your own. Chapter 2 is my least favorite animal, the mouse. And so chapter 2 is the Western harvest mouse. Western harvest mice are tiny, even for mice. An adult only grows to about 7.6 centimeters, which is 3 inches long. plus a tail of about the same length. These mice have large, hairless ears, pale bellies, and dark stripes down their backs. Like all mice, they have large front teeth that are good for gnawing hard food. Western harvest mice got their name because they harvest, pick, and eat the seeds of plants in grassy areas. They hide extra food underground using holes left behind by other small animals. Western harvest mice weave grass into soft nests about the size and shape of a baseball, where they hide all day. Where they hide all day. Peep that phrase. These tiny mice mostly come out at night and are especially active on dark, moonless nights when it is harder for predators to see them. Predators that eat Western harvest mice include snakes, owls, hawks, and foxes. To avoid being eaten, the mice spend a lot of time hiding in covered places. They build their nests deep in grass, underground, or under fallen trees. These tiny mice usually live less than a year. I'm okay with that. But they reproduce a lot, about once a month. Each female may give birth to up to 9 babies. So, kind of disturbing, but I want you all to think about what adaptive traits and non-adaptive traits did you hear. Turn and talk with your families real quick, and then I'm going to share the answer because I just want you to brainstorm a little on your own. Okay, so an adaptive trait is obviously the sleeping schedule of the harvest mouse. It sleeps during the day underground when most of the predators are out looking for mice to eat. It comes out at night when it's really hard to see them. It stores its food underground. It is underground. As we know, them having that type of environment will allow their generation to keep multiplying and multiplying. So now we know we need to dig holes in the ground to get rid of the mice in the city. What part of the environment might make an individual more or less likely to survive? So obviously the Western harvest mouse needs some type of dirt and ground to be able to go into. They couldn't live near an ocean because they probably can't survive under the water. They probably couldn't live in a desert. The sand probably isn't enough for them to hide their food. They might lose it. The temperature might not be great for them. It says which traits might be adaptive for that environment. So let's think about traits that might be adaptive with the mouse. First off, we know that it's really tiny. Also, we noticed that the color, it said the color was like light brown on here. So that's something that can easily blend in with the ground. I also want to pay attention to the size. The mouse is only 3 inches long, so it's very hard to see it. That's definitely an adaptive trait. I'm sure that over time, they got gradually smaller, similar to the giraffe's neck getting gradually longer, right? And this is due to it adapting to its environment. It's most of its time underground. The larger mice probably were more likely eaten by predators. Everyone understand? Cool. So I want you to read common garter snake, American black bear, Douglas fir tree, and then fill in the grid. I'm also going to attach the written assignment. I know that a lot of people still can't get their electronics up, but with that written assignment, I think you'll still be able to pull that up and write the answers down on a piece of notebook paper. Cool. So the things I just want to make sure you know before we close this video out, we're running a long time. You need to be able to know what an adaptive trait means. We know that adaptive traits are traits that have allowed a generation to continue. Things that have been passed down from generation to generation and have been, the non-adaptive traits are the things that have been weeded out. Only the strongest can survive. We need to know that natural selection only happens through adaptive traits. Survival of the fittest. Let's take the coronavirus for an example. We know that as soon as it came out, they were saying that people who had pre-existing conditions and who were older are more prone to the disorder. Why? Because you all having a stronger respiratory system are more likely to survive. You have more of an adaptive trait, okay? You need to know what an environmental condition is. Do you live in an appropriate environment for yourself? We definitely do. We can survive winters. We can survive summers. We can't live in Alaska. That is not an environment. I mean, yes, we can. I'm lying. Not Alaska. Antarctica. We can't live in Antarctica long term without proper extra equipment. Naturally, just our bodies, we would not be able to survive and sustain life there because it's just way too cold. Maybe if our bodies change. I don't know if y'all remember when I told you I went to Egypt, King Tut was like 4 feet and the average lifespan there was like 25 years old. So we know now our bodies are way larger and we obviously live at a much longer lifespan. So maybe that wasn't a body type that was fit to survive in his environment, which is desert type environment. You need to understand, I want you to lock this in as well. Cause is environmental condition, okay? Effect is whether that object receives an adaptive or non-adaptive trait. So cause will always be the environmental condition. After you watch this video tomorrow, I see somebody's already watching this, okay. But after you watch this video tomorrow, I want you to go through the worksheet. I want you to answer all the questions in the grid from the chapter. I also do want you to do the amplified writing. And last but not least, IXL, and I think we're on R3 today. R3. I did not have as much conversation in the stream. I really want those streams booming. I know that Notre Dame and Princeton have been doing pretty well with it. U of I just want y'all to pick it up a little. Let's talk about non-adaptive and adaptive traits. Let's actually share some of our answers in the stream once it's closer to the end of the day. So we just build off our responses and see where we are at. If you have any questions about anything in objective, please let me know. If you ever have a question, we can go over the worksheet the following day, okay? So if you have a question about the homework on Wednesday, 325, let me know in the stream. I will go over that on 326. Please don't be afraid to do that. Even if you want to email it to me, that's fine. I just want to make sure we're understanding natural selection. So when you're in high school, you can be scholar of the day in high school. Narquise, thank you and your mom for doing that riddle for me. Carmelo, thank you for being the first person done with your Google Doc assignment. Keep up the good work. Can you tell me to stop acting weird in my videos? So the song is called, what's the song called? I don't remember, but we're going to do the challenge, y'all. We're going to, somebody didn't fell downstairs. Pray for them. But all right, see y'all tomorrow. I'll be blessed.